Lamar and I have had multiple conversations. It's been great. It's been great to get to know him. I think relationships take time, and so you don't become the head coach of the Ravens and expect to have a deep relationship with anybody. So those take time. We've been working towards that already. I just look forward to connecting with him, helping him become the best version of himself, creating a team identity that allows him to thrive, which he's already proven to be an elite, one of the best player in the National Football League. And put a team around him that allows him to reach that ultimate goal of bringing a Super Bowl back to Baltimore. We will create standards that match the goals that we want to achieve. Our plan will be built on being at our best late in the season, into the playoffs, and look forward to that challenge.
Adam Schefter with us now. He's with us all show. Adam, with Minter being more of a defensive guy, the first big hire certainly will be his OC. What are you hearing there?
Well, they've been talking to the Bears offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. They've been monitoring Davis Webb, who interviewed for the Raiders head coaching job and has been with the Broncos as the Broncos passing game coordinator. They know they have a huge hire on their hands to make in Buffalo that will be instrumental in helping to elevate the play of Lamar Jackson. And when we think of Jesse Minter and Lamar Jackson, if you go back and look at the clips of what Jesse Minter said when he was the Chargers defensive coordinator and they had to go up against Lamar Jackson, he said at that point in time when Justin Herbert was his quarterback that Lamar Jackson is one of one, the best player in the league. He wasn't even as clear today about it as he was back then when he was going up against Lamar Jackson. They are now looking for that offensive coordinator that they believe can help restore Lamar Jackson's play and bring him back to an MVP level.
A lot of interesting offensive coordinator hires need to be made. Sure, with how they use that and where all of this falls. You can see the key free agents there, some things to look out for as you consider where they may go and how they may treat this offseason. So as we continue to look at the Ravens, Stan and J-Mac are here with us for the hour. J-Mac, what should Minter be doing when it comes to that OC hire? You heard what Adam mentioned there, but where do you think they should go?
The one thing that we continue to hear from Jesse Minter is relationships. And when you think about that, for the offensive coordinator, the one he has with Lamar Jackson, his ability to communicate with Lamar Jackson is going to be huge. There are a lot of names that have been mentioned. Cliff Kingsbury's name has been mentioned for that job. Joe Brady, before he took the head coaching job in Buffalo, his name was mentioned for that job. I look at this, the OC, whoever you are, you got to find a way to get Lamar Jackson and this offense back to explosive plays. That fell down a little bit this past year, and obviously Lamar Jackson playing through injury had a lot to do with it. But getting him going, yes, you're going to still have Derrick Henry in that run game and still focusing on that. But those explosive plays down the field is what puts the fear in a lot of defenses' minds and hearts when you know you have to go up against Lamar Jackson.
If I were the Baltimore Ravens, my offensive coordinator would be Shieldhouse, Sean Mannion, or Declan Doyle.
Yeah. Why?
Because they come from the right tree. They come from the Shanahan-McVay tree. For me, I just believe that offense, because the starting point, the foundation is, I'm going to take all these things that are simple to me and make them complicated to you.
Yeah.
Those are like recession-proof. And the second thing is, I can take one presentation and do 5 different things from it. That is a thing that carries over week to week to week to week. It elevates the performance of the offensive line. It elevates the performance of the backs. It elevates the performance of the quarterback, and it makes the receivers' jobs easier. I will always believe that a coordinator from that tree is the best option. The second thing I'd say is this, and I'd like to get your perspective on it, is I do think Jesse Minter, defensive coaches that are really intelligent and schematically advanced, and I think Minter's one of them, I think they do have an advantage when it comes to picking a coordinator because it's what offense gives me
the most issues.
Right. What offense do I not want to to prepare for? What offense do I think is the most difficult to have answers for?
I think that's a great point because from Minter's perspective, especially the way he designs his defenses with the moving parts, with the 2 high safeties, you know going into that game, all right, if I'm going against a Sean McVay offense of what they did this year with the 3 tight ends, and well, now they're all together. Now the next play, it's an empty set. Or the way that Ben Johnson in Chicago, the way he moved people pre-snap, you're looking at that, and I think he's doing it from a perspective of, if I'm Jesse Mentor, I'm looking at my quarterback.
Right.
And I'm saying, all right, with Lamar Jackson, what offense would fit him in a sense of now I'm going into a game and I'm looking at it like, how the hell am I going to stop him?
Prepare for all these
within
different
this?
things,
Yes.
and then Lamar.
So how can I maximize the weapons around him? How can I maximize Derrick Henry? How can I maximize Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers and all of those different guys?
Yeah, I think there's an advantage to that.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And remember, too, you guys, this was well talked about during that time, that Lamar Jackson had a play or a hand in who they were going to hire. You got to think that Jesse Minter, when asked about the OC, talked to Lamar about how much he would feature him and the best possibilities for him. All right, more people have been hired and they've been introduced. New on NFL Live. The Bills had their introductory press conference for Joe Brady today as well. Take a listen.
One thing that the guys know about me, and it might be from espresso, it might be from Gatorade Fast Twitches, but I'm going to bring the energy every single day. And I believe people are going to feed off of that. I truly believe in being the temperature, right? I'm the weather, and they're going to feel it every single day. My guys. Ooh. I'm so appreciative of you guys being here today.
Ooh, it gives you chills. Just sees how much Joe Brady means to his players and vice versa. Adam back with us. Schefter, kind of the opposite situation.
Offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. We'll see the direction that Joe Brady ultimately takes it. That'll be the next big, significant hire that the Bills make. But Jim Leonhard would certainly be a candidate that would be near the top of the list for Buffalo.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. We'll talk about it more. But first, Brady jumped on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, talked about how excited he is to get on the practice field.
I'm not an offensive head coach. I'm a head coach. And, I just told the guys out there, I can't wait for the first practice to go out there and Josh to throw a pick, and I get to celebrate with the defense. I can't wait to be able to talk to our the offensive tackle and get through it. Can't wait.
I mean, you love it. Dan.
Good vibes.
We need to hold him to that, though. You offensive guys, he'll say that now, then the defense gets a pick. He's cursing out the offense and making them have to do it.
And then it's the fourth day of training
2 minute
camp.
drill, we pick it off.
3 picks.
Run it back.
Spoken like a true defensive guy, right?
Yeah.
We'll definitely check back in on that. Dan, what is going to be the biggest challenge for Joe Brady when he tries to fill out that staff in Buffalo?
I think it's making sure that there's people on his staff and really in prominent positions that have experience being head coach.
I like that.
You know, I think the world of Joe Brady, and I think the world of Jim Leonhard. But I also have to take the step back and realize, okay, if Joe Brady's the new head coach and then Jim Leonhard comes as a defensive coordinator, this is a place in a team that's trying to go to the next level. Neither of those guys would have head coaching experience. There's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of hurdles and obstacles that you have to try to maneuver. And I'll always go back to talking with some first-time head coaches early in the process and them always to a man saying, there's just so much more that I had to handle that I did not expect. And so, yes, there's different pieces that they have to add, but I think just having experience is going to be really important in some of those prominent roles.
Such a good point. And we look to the Super Bowl right now. Seattle, Mike McDonald, second-year head coach. I remember meeting with him in his first year, and he talked about the importance of having Leslie Frazier on the staff, a guy that has been experienced, that has been in the league forever, helping not only with managing everything, but communicating with players. And I think, to your point, there's a lot of blind spots when you take over. What I am excited about for Joe Brady, McDermott, when Brady took over, he said the one thing about him is he has a certain level of tough love and firmness that you have to have when you're dealing with the face of the franchise and Josh Allen. And there's a lot of love and respect that those two have to have with one another. What we've seen, the success of their offense proves that that love and respect is there and is flourishing. Now, can he get that to translate throughout the entire team? One of his sayings was, let's just make simple better. How can Buffalo do that and get it to turn into 2 more wins than where they've been under McDermott?
And then how much does this fall on Brandon Beane? I mean, you see him there at the press conference right next to Joe Brady. Dan, he's going to have to fill some holes in some key spots. Where would you look first if you're Beane?
Yeah, and obviously receiver. They have to upgrade the receiver position. I think they have to get more dynamic and athletic on the defensive side. I have been one person who's been outspoken. I do not believe the roster's as dire as people have painted it out to be. There's some good young defensive players. Cole Bishop really emerged this year. Maxwell Hairston when he played this year. So they're in some cap situations, no doubt. But Brandon Beane's done a good job building this football team. You don't win as many games as they've won having a lack of talent. I just think with Again, the Joe Brady energy, I have a great appreciation for.
Yeah.
But I do believe that having a young, energetic coach when things are going great is great. But you just want to have that coach that's around, that those people that are around, and God, when we hit the bumps, there's somebody there that can steady that ship a little bit and make sure that we don't start to fracture. And when you're the head coach and the play caller, there's a lot of things you got to manage.
Well, and again, this is about winning the AFC and then winning a Super Bowl, right? The Bills have won 91 games over the last 7 seasons, including the playoffs. That's the most all time without a Super Bowl appearance. New on NFL Live, this is going to be something to monitor. Fresh off of surgery to make a repair on his foot, Josh Allen was asked how he's feeling.
I'm not even lying. If we had to play a game this week, I would figure it out to play a game. So it's a little painful right now, but it wasn't a crazy surgery.
Yeah, Josh, we don't think you're lying. We know you'd be out there. Schefter, what more can you add?
Well, amazingly enough, he hurt his foot against the Cleveland Browns towards the end of the season, and so he was playing with that injury into the playoffs, and obviously contends that had the Bills still been alive today, he would have played in the Super Bowl with a broken bone in his foot. But he had surgery Monday in Alabama. He is expected to recover from that quickly. You would think he'll be involved in the offseason training program, certainly ready for training camp. Not a long-term injury, but the impressive part is what he was doing while he was playing with a broken bone in his foot. That's another typical Josh Allen move. And again, he continues to impress, and he certainly did this year with that injury that he played through.
Yeah, good to see that he'll be good to go by the time anything matters. We're just getting down in Tennessee. New on NFL Live, the Titans officially introduced Saleh to their media earlier today.
Fast and violent, man. Play in and play out. We're going to play with speed. We're going to play confident. We're going to have some swag. Talk a little, but I want them to show who they are, play in and play out. And like I said, the one thing that you'll notice is the speed at which we play and the violence at which we do it. The biggest thing that we're going to work with Cam, just going all the way back to the beginning. We've gotten a whole offseason to work with him, taken back to the very, very beginning, both on the field, off the field. Just talking with Dabes over the course of the last few weeks. He is the perfect man to match up with Cam and to maximize who he is. So again, we're really pumped to get to work with Cam and get him to where we all know he can be.
Adam Schefter back with us now, Saleh in place, as is his offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, or Dabes, as you just heard Saleh refer to him. What's next for Tennessee, Adam?
Well, that'll be the big marriage there, Laura, making sure that Brian Daboll gets Cam Ward up to speed. And there was such an emphasis on getting Brian Daboll in that building. Obviously, they identified Robert Saleh as the head coach they wanted, but what was important to that, to make that happen and to make it work the way they wanted, was to get the offensive coordinator. They have been sweating out whether Brian Daboll would get the head coaching job in Buffalo or whether he would get the head coaching job in Las Vegas. Obviously, Buffalo was filled. Vegas is still open. Vegas seems to be going another direction, and Brian Daboll has signed his contract with the Titans, which is exactly what they wanted to happen. We see right now the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Baltimore Ravens scrambling to come up with an offensive coordinator. The Titans had their guy, they got their guy, and now they're ready to put him to work with their former #1 overall pick.
Yeah, and he's great at developing young QB talent for sure. The Titans, by the way, played the toughest schedule in the NFL last season. They went 0-9 versus teams with a winning record, if I could speak correctly. And that's why this is a bit of an uphill climb, but still a lot of talent on this team, right? The Titans do have a lot of wiggle room this offseason. Currently $78 million under the 2026 salary cap. That's third most in the NFL. A lot of room there to spend. They're also picking top 5 in the draft for the second year in a row. And remember, they obviously don't need a quarterback, so they can use that pick on a key position. They had not done this since the mid-1960s when they were still the Oilers. So a really big moment, I think, for this organization. Dan, a lot of positive things in Tennessee right now. Does all that translate to them, you think, taking a big step forward next season?
Certainly the chance. Can they replicate what New England did?
Yep.
Not to, obviously, New England's playing in the Super Bowl, right? And I don't believe they even thought that. But there are some things that you sit there and point to. Second year of a quarterback, head coach that is in his second run, and an offensive play caller that's got a ton of experience, and Brian Daboll, Josh McDaniels. And you sit there and you say, okay, well, how did New England actually get it done? really good investment into their defensive tackle group. Tennessee's already got that. Secondary, big-time improvement. That's one of the places that if you're Tennessee, they're going to have to invest in. Offensive line, New England hit on 2 draft picks, so that's going to be something that Tennessee's got some pieces. You know, so they got another addition or 2, and then the perimeter players went through the roof. Steph was amazing this year. Booty took the step forward. The addition of Matt Collins, and so you know, if you're looking at how can you do it, it's you got to hit on the secondary and you got to hit on the receivers. Those would be the 2 areas, and then Cam obviously has to take the Drake May type of leap.
And I think the point that you're saying is you got to hit in free agency. And the Patriots spent the most money in NFL history in free agency this past offseason. For the Titans now, you have to hit on whatever guys you bring in. But I love the addition of Brian Daboll. And not only for Cam Ward, but you think about that Giants team this year. You think about Cam Scatterbull. You think about the young guys that are on that roster. Malik Neighbors, his ability to get relationships with those guys. The Tennessee Titans, they have some young guys. Gunnar Helm at the tight end position, who was a rookie last year. Elik Iomaner, who was a rookie last year. Chimere Dike, rookie last year. These are the young guys that you're going to get a ton of energy from Brian Daboll and Robert Saleh. You want that now to translate and for those guys to take ownership and take on the mindset of the coaches that's going to be leading them. So I think for Robert Saleh, you're off to a great start in getting the right OC. They retain Bones Jones as their special teams coordinator. So you have the guys that you want in front of the room.
One quick thing, too, on Saleh. He did say today he's going to call the defense as the head coach. That's something he didn't do when he was in New York.
As he should. You know, if you're good at it, do it.
Right.
I also think this for Daboll in relation to Cam Ward. So if you go back to his time in Buffalo with Josh, it was taking this really talented and raw player and getting him to take the necessary steps, a little bit more efficiency, more accurate as a player. In New York with Daniel Jones, he got Daniel Jones to be by far his most efficient and risk-averse. And so can you find a way to get that marriage to Cam? Can you get Cam to develop a little bit and get a little bit more mechanically sound like you did with Josh, while also getting Cam to be a little bit more efficient and risk-averse like Daniel Jones? Like, if he can do that with Cam Ward's way more physically talented than Daniel Jones as a thrower of the football. You got a chance to, again, have a really good second year.
And we know the work ethic that comes with Cam Ward. We know how much he wants to be great. So now you're getting a coach that's a proven offensive mind. He's going to buy into that.
Tennessee,
and that relationship is going to grow. And you think about it, you compare them to New England, the one similarity they have is they're both one of my former teams.
Well, look at that. It's the J-Mac factor.
You found a way to get that in.
I mean, I was going to bring up the cap space and all that and how they use it. I think it's all about you.
Bring me in, Tennessee.
I love it. All right, coming up next, the coaching carousel before we know it. Time to see what's on trend for the Pats and the Seahawks. Let's look at the numbers here, guys. Stephon Diggs hasn't missed a game for the Patriots this season, but his production is down in the playoffs. He's averaging half as many receiving yards per game and 5 fewer yards per catch compared to the regular season, despite being targeted at a slightly higher rate. Dan, does the trend continue in his first career Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think so, but this is so much more about the defense that pass game and he have to go against. Steph has been very clutch for this football team, and he's become the guy that they work in the middle of the field. But this defense in Seattle and the way that they cover physically at the line of scrimmage and down the field, the versatility, he's going to be matched up a lot against Worry or Witherspoon. Those are 2 elite defenders. I think Steph's going to get his at times, but this is a big-time coverage group.
Let's go to the other side of the ball for New England. This defense has been really good. Red zone defense has not been the Patriots' strong suit, though, this season, allowing a touchdown on 2/3 of their opponents' red zone drives. It's the 4th highest rate by a Super Bowl team since play-by-play was first tracked in 1978. The only 3 with a higher rate lost the Super Bowl, most recently the 2020 Chiefs. J-Mac, does this trend continue against the Seahawks offense where that red zone defense struggles?
I do think it continues, and a lot of that reason has to do with Seattle. Their red zone offense in the playoffs has been incredible. They've had 11 trips, 5.5 per game on average, and they're scoring at almost 73%, and those are touchdowns. I think Sam Darnold's done an excellent job with his eyes moving, guys, and when you have a guy in the backfield and Kenneth Walker that can just run the ball in the red zone, it makes life a lot easier on play caller Klint Kubiak.
Yeah, deeper into the numbers there with 2 key parts of this game that could matter. Let's get Adam Schefter back in here for some coaching news. Adam, the Browns went with Todd Monken as their next head coach, leaving the future of Jim Schwartz in doubt in Cleveland. Where do things stand there?
there are going to have to be conversations that occur between Jim Schwartz and the Browns as to whether or not the relationship is even salvageable right now. It's very much up in the air and in question. Jim Schwartz not happy to be bypassed for the starting job, for the head coaching job in Cleveland. He's got 2 years remaining on his contract. Really up in the air at best whether he even returns to be the defensive coordinator for Todd Monken. Meanwhile, there are 2 teams left with head coaching vacancies. One is the Arizona Cardinals, who spent part of this week meeting with the Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, the brother of Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. But they are also interested in Klint Kubiak, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. And they are expected to meet at some point this weekend with Klint Kubiak in Seattle. The issue with the Cardinals is not only are they interested in Klint Kubiak, but so are the Raiders. And that is the reason we still have 2 openings today, because both teams now seem to have some level of interest in Klint Kubiak. Both will wind up talking with him this weekend, and we'll see which one can land his services if they're even willing to lure him into their head coaching jobs. One will get Klint Kubiak in all probability. The other will move on to another candidate. But that is why all the jobs have not been filled, because both the Raiders and the Cardinals still would like to speak with Klint Kubiak.
Good time to be Klint Kubiak, and well-deserved, right? And as we await the official word here, let's live in a world where Kubiak has the choices of either Arizona or Vegas. J-Mac, where would you lean if you're a first-time head coach looking to make this decision?
I think a lot of people look at this and they say, all right, well, the Raiders have the first overall pick. You're going to get Mendoza, or if you want to trade the pick, you're going to get a wealth of opportunities in the draft to be able to improve this roster. I'm looking at Arizona if I'm Kubiak, and you say, you know what? My strength is the offensive side of the ball. I just have helped Sam Darnold get to the Super Bowl. I feel like I can make a lot to do with this offense. Give me, whether it's Jacoby Brissett or they figure out another way, Kyler Murray, whoever it is, you have some weapons on that offensive side of the ball. Trey McBride, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Marvin Harrison Jr., somebody that is obviously a building piece. On the defensive side of the ball, Josh Sweat was unbelievable, a free agent they signed last year. You feel like you have the makings of the players in your building that you can build around on the defensive side of the ball. But if I'm Kubiak, I'm saying, you know what? The weakness of this team is figuring out what the hell to do at the quarterback position and make this offense feel relevant. I would feel like that's my superpower, and that's something that I can improve and work with.
I like that thought. I do. I lean Raiders. I fix the Raiders in 3 moves if I'm them. Number 1, I hire Klint Kubiak, and if I were Klint Kubiak, I would choose the Raiders. Number 2, I would bring Raheem Morris as my defensive coordinator. Really good defensive mind. Again, also somebody who's got past experience being head coach. Third move, I would trade Max Crosby. And I would say, here we go. We're going to take Mendoza 1. We're going to get a first-round pick from the Rams for Max Crosby. And now we start to rebuild this football team talent-wise in the proper way.
Yeah, you guys heard that. He's trading Max Crosby to the Rams.
I would trade, if I were the Rams,
really good.
And Matthew would come back, I would say, here's one of my picks. And if I'm the Raiders, I love Max Crosby. He's the face of the franchise over the past couple years. They need a lot of talent. And so if I can recoup another first-round pick with all that cap space, that gives in. I understand your point with Arizona with more of the group around them.
Yeah. The Kyler Murray situation's weird, though. Like,
Kyler's
we
done,
don't know. He's done. So you got to think it's Jacoby Brissett. I mean, you named off Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. Is that enough to say, yeah, we're going to
It's not enough, but when you're looking at starting something, it's a starting point. When you have guys at positions, when you can look at Trey McBride and you can make the argument that I have the best tight end in the NFL, that says something. Now, someone you may not agree, but we can have that conversation.
I got Brock Bowers.
No doubt about it. You got Brock Bowers, and we got Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside as well. So you feel like you have some pieces that you can build on. I think that's a big thing.
You guys both sold me. I mean, actually, I think this is great for Kubiak. Like, I think he's in a really good spot.
I think
whichever one he wants to go.
No doubt
totally.
about it.
And I think for Klint, it will be, obviously there's factors, right? What's the situational structure, the organizational structure? Tom Brady in one.
There's a lot.
Ossenfort's done a nice job there in Arizona. I do think it comes down to, do you want to handpick the quarterback in one place, or will you be a little bit, shorthanded, or not shorthanded, but like forced to play or forced to have a certain
There's some mental gymnastics to figure out in Arizona
a lot of
how you get to it.
Yeah, a lot of it would probably depend on what does he think about Fernando Mendoza.
Yes.
Colts offensive coordinator Bob Cooter for their open OC position. Dan, you like that?
I do. Jim Bob's a coach that's been around the NFL for a long time. He's been around a lot of different systems, a lot of different offenses, a lot of different opportunity to learn and coach different quarterbacks. It's a very high-pressured position that he would be stepping into. I was a player under Jim Bob for a couple years in Detroit, so knows football inside and out.
I love it. Dan and Jim Bob. We'll see if he ends up being hired by the Giants. I would be shocked, by the way, if you missed this headline that Bill Belichick would not be a first-ballot Hall of Famer after failing to reach the 40-vote threshold. But you may have missed some of the reaction, including this from his former quarterback, Tom Brady.
I don't understand it. I mean, I was with him every day. If he's not a first-ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
Can you show me a first-ballot coach Hall of Fame resume? I mean, what's it going to have to be to go in and be inducted in the first round when you have a resume with Coach Belichick who didn't even get in?
And when I talked to 2 or 3 of the voters today, of course, every voter is going to say, I voted for him, which is, a bunch of them are lying.
If you have Bill Belichick not making the NFL, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you should not have a vote for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
J-Mac, a reaction that certainly you would expect, having played for Belichick. What do you make of this?
Jimmy Johnson, I think he was the one who summed it up the best with all of his beautiful, colorful language that he used to talk about this. It's just insane, and everyone can talk about all the different type of gates you want to talk about, Spygate, Deflategate. The truth of the matter, this guy had 2 Hall of Fame runs, 3 Super Bowls with New England, time off, and then 3 more Super Bowls with New England, and not even to mention the other 2 that he won as a defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. It's insane. I think the worst thing about it is that when the Hall of Fame comes up in the summer, all we're going to talk about is Belichick not being there. Well, you wonder, what is Belichick doing about us? He has to be pissed. I guarantee you, Belichick is on the road recruiting, going from high school to high school right now, trying to recruit the best athletes in the world, and he's not even thinking about everything that we're talking about every single day.
All right, with the playoffs in full swing, it would have been easy to miss Ben Johnson's end-of-season press conference where he was very blunt about building off this year's success, but you're not going to miss it because we're bringing it to you right now.
There is no building off of this. We go back to square one. We're back at the bottom again, and that's really all 32 teams. If you feel otherwise, you're probably missing the big picture.
Those comments make sense, Dan. Back to the bottom, back to square one.
I think it's one of my favorite moments for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
I truly agree with everything that he said because teams make the mistake of allowing that initial first year to success to cover up who you really are. One, they won games this year. They didn't dominate games and didn't control games. So that's the next step for Chicago is, well, instead of trying to win games late, let's dominate games. Let's control games like Detroit did after that first year when they started to win. One, get the quarterback to be more efficient. There's also a part of me that sits there and goes, is he ever going to be this wildly efficient quarterback? Should I stop expecting him to be that? Is he more of
do you take too much out of his game?
Is he more a long-range shooter? Is he more a three-point shooter? And it's just a different version of success. And so I think, figuring that out is probably a big part of them and probably the way that we talk about that team.
It was so different when I heard him say that because you think about it, a team that if you fired your head coach and you got a new head coach is because you weren't succeeding. So when you come in year one and you have that success and you make it to the playoffs and you win some games there, you would think the first thing you would say as a coach is, yes, we want to build off of that. We want to be in the exact spot we were in last year and then win another game or two. The fact that he went the other way, I go back to, you think about it a year ago, at this point, we were talking about how amazing the season was for the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, 100%. And how fantastic it was. And all we kept saying is they just have to build on this. And a lot of us picked them to even go further this year. And then you have a backslide. So I think to your point, Dan, of what he's saying is let's go back to the foundation of this and figure out who we are as a team. Because last year we were coming in and it was so much newness around the entire building that you're just trying to hit the ground running. Well, now we have an entire offseason to break down everything we did a year ago and to fix the issues and improve on the good things.
What are some maybe key personnel areas that you would look at? You mentioned receiver potentially adding
my
somebody
thing with
there.
the receivers
defense.
is this is a run-centric offense. You have to have receivers that are willing and capable of blocking. There are moments they did that well this year. Antoine Randall, who's their coach, is one of the best in the league, in my opinion, doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think they did that well throughout the remainder of the season, so I don't know if it's an emphasis or a human to come in there and be that kind of guy. And then defensively, their front seven has to get better against the run. It has to get better against the run. I think the secondary is talented enough to continue to play at a high level with taking the ball away.
And they're free agents. Byard, their free safety, who led the league and had a ton of interceptions. He's going to be a free agent. Deshaun Wright, he's going to be a free agent at the cornerback spot. So when you talk about it from a personnel standpoint, like those guys all had a huge impact on their season. You're seeing the turnovers, but then even Gardner Johnson, when he brought to the team,
well, you're not going to re-sign all four of them.
You're not, of course not. So like that's the things you got to look at. Byard.
Brisker and Byard, would you lean if you had two?
Yeah, and you're hoping Byard, he's an older player. You want to have the veteran in the room. So yes, but both those guys are safeties. Like how many safeties do you want to pay on your team as well?
That what we just saw on that list, 15 of the 23 interceptions that were the league high. That was amazing. The way
I didn't know that all those guys were free agents.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on, certainly. We got more coming your way here on NFL Live. Glad you're with us on Live. One thing to watch as we're leading up to Super Bowl Sunday, Drake May would have been limited in practice Wednesday with a right shoulder injury. He acknowledged having bumps and bruises after Sunday's AFC Championship game. New on NFL Live today, he made it clear he'll be out there next week.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Got out there moving around some good bit today, and I was able to do some of the jog through, so feeling good and looking forward to be ready to go. And this is the game you dream of playing in. So I'm just trying to do whatever I can to get back to 100%. And I think a lot of people in the locker room would say the same thing. Having a 2-week break, is nice to maybe rest a little more and get back to get to know the Seahawks as good as I can. And from there, looking forward to getting out to practice and trying to transfer that to live game reps.
It's been a historic sophomore season for Drake May, who led the NFL in completion percentage and yards per attempt. May won 3 games last year. He's lost 3 this year as a starter. He's also thrown 20 more pass touchdowns and has as many picks this year as he had last year, despite starting 8 more games. Just been remarkable. Let's get into May here for a bit. As good as he's been, there's still some things he needs to clean up heading into the Super Bowl. What are they, guys? Well,
he hasn't been in a Trent Dilfer for any of those type of quarterbacks. Drake May has been unbelievable this year. And you go back to that AFC Championship game, I know their offense struggled, but there were some opportunities out there, Dan, that I want to ask you as a quarterback, because me looking at it from a defensive back, I'm like, man, had he just maybe looked here a little bit longer, made this throw there, they could have put more points on the board, and there were opportunities to be had. So we go back to this play. When I see this, Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, you typically don't see your 2 receivers now are aligned into the boundary.
We're doing that because we want to create matchups.
Absolutely.
I want to take those guys and force you from a coverage perspective. So if we're putting this into the Seattle world, because that's Hufanga and Surtain, I'm trying to see if, do I like an advantage pass game-wise versus a Nick Emanwari in the slot over a Witherspoon?
No doubt about it. And you can put the safeties in there, a Julian Love or a Kobe Bryant as well. You have Hufanga safety matched up on Stephon Diggs. Now, when he's coming across the field, if I'm Drake May, I would think this play's put in where this is going to be our primary guy that we want to hit. Now, he takes the shot on the outside. That's against Pat Surtain.
Yeah, so I think the learning example is, as much as you love Kayshon Boutte, if that was a Riley Moss, throw it. And so that's going to be, again, part of that conversation is there a corner when they're playing against Seattle that they feel
you like that matchup?
Because one of the things that stood out against the Rams was the Rams would, the Seattle Seahawks secondary, we talked about this, they played on the back hip so much of the Rams receivers. So maybe that's something to adjust, because I would sit here and say, I totally agree with you. Now, maybe there's this pre-game awareness where you could see Hufanga trying to pass this off to that safety. So maybe if they got man free, which is man-to-man coverage with the free safety in the middle of the field, they didn't love that crosser. But I do think that's something to pay attention to, of maybe Drake having a very clear understanding of what matchup they're actually hunting. Like, you go to the red zone and you're talking about the red zone concept and you're sitting there going, well, is there really nobody open here? Because there are people open against this defense.
There are people open, and I always look at where's the quarterback eyes taking me. So Drake May, people will look at it and say, all right, Ramondre Stevenson, he's wide open on his play. He's not looking on that side of the field. He's never going to see it. Drake May, from the snap, is looking down here at the bottom. So what do I see? When this ball snaps, you see Hufanga sitting right in the middle, which takes away Stephon Diggs, which may be the first read. But then you go to the outside between Mac Hollins and Hunter Henry. Why not throw to one of those 2 guys?
So I think you're totally right. You know, the starting point for Drake May, depending on how he's getting taught to read this, is, hey, where's the safety in the middle of the field? Because I would love him to understand safety's in the middle of the field here. I got 3 receivers down here. I would say, hey, I want you to take your eyes. Let's move this safety, okay? Just take him where he wants to go. Move that safety that way, and then get backside to Kayshon Boutte on this little in route, because if you create a little bit of window right there and snap your eyes, there's a throw to be had there, okay? Now, that's Patrick Surtain. But I do believe that even if this is a Witherspoon or
Tariq Woolen,
you got to trust his physical presence, right? And then if you go to the bottom, really the starting point with the read would be Steph, but then you quickly get to this high-low of 2 to 3, meaning if this corner drives Mac Hollins, then you want to throw this corner route. But I would also say that's open. That's open in the NFL.
No doubt about it.
So I think some of the learning experience for Drake May in this game and going into the Seattle game from an offensive perspective is, hey, you got to trust the frame of a Boutte and a Mac Hollins. It's going to be a very physical game versus that secondary. We got to trust our guys and their physical presence to make some plays.
I like that. Trust the frame of a Boutte or Mac Hollins. Well said, Dan.
I can't stand you guys. On a more serious note, it's been a wild
I get myself
12
into
months.
so much trouble.
Yeah, you really are. It's been a wild 12 months in New England, J-Mac. I mean, they got a new coach. They got 30 new guys on the roster. They go from 4 wins to now a spot in the Super Bowl. I mean, we're going to keep talking about this story, but it is remarkable. You were around the team for a lot of this transformation. How did Vrabel get the guys to buy in?
I think the special thing about Mike Vrabel is when he gets in there, he has a unique ability to connect with guys, but also hold them accountable and challenge them. The talk of the preseason for them was, can you challenge Drake May to become more of a vocal leader? It's one thing to lead by example as a quarterback. It's another thing to hold each other accountable and for the quarterback to uplift the guys around him. The second thing for Mike Vrabel was, can you get the guys to believe in what you're selling? I think when he was able to do that in the preseason, we saw this guy jumping in the middle of scuffles and fighting with his players during the preseason.
You would never.
For guys on the team, they're like, well, he's one of us. That's our guys. I think the third thing is the staff he built. He has a ton of coaches in there with the knowledge that guys know when I go out there on a given Sunday, whatever day it is, they're putting us in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, Dan jumps in a lot of scuffles, too. Just kidding.
I'm like Steph on the sideline.
All right.